Good morning, Bear Nation. It's Bear with BearIndependent.com. I wanted to discuss the difference between a home, a homestead, and a farm this morning. Many of y'all, I hope, are familiar with the militant farmer concept, a phrase that we developed here, but in no way a concept that we developed here. In fact, I can find you in the book of Genesis chapter 2, very early on in this story here, the history of mankind, aka the Bible, the militant farmer concept. In fact, the Adamic covenant between the Father and Adam, the first man, is to rule and subdue the earth, the militant farmer concept. Now, I don't have a particular interest in ruling or subduing, but at least not you. Here, yes, my homestead, I rule and subdue. The militant farmer concept states simply that you need to be able to grow your own food, and you need to be able to protect your own food, because without it, you can't feed the people that you're trying to protect in the first place. And you should certainly have food storage, but the moment you slit your first Mylar bag or open your first can of green beans off your food storage shelf, you've started a clock, and that clock is counting down to when you have zero food, which is why you need to be able to produce your own food. Which brings us to the concept of home versus homestead versus farm. To me, yet again, it's a game of resources. I'm very pragmatic. I'm very practical. In fact, I've been accused by my detractors and people that don't know me well as being unemotional. I have emotions. I have feelings. I just think that they are the lowest form of input for human beings. Doesn't mean that they're not valuable, but just like stress, they are a biomechanical feedback mechanism that is telling you what your body thinks about something, about the environment or situation that you have put it in. They are not the ultimate arbiter of truth. They are not in of themselves anything special. They are one of many different feedback mechanisms that you, as a human being, fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of your creator, experiences daily. I have those same experiences. I just don't weight them very heavily. I don't allow them to factor into my decision making, which is one of the things, frankly, that makes me a good leader. Resources, home, homestead, farm. Game of resources. Like all things, it comes back to production. A home, at least for us, and especially in North Dallas, when we lived north of Dallas, was a place, at least when we first started living there, that consumed resources. Go to work to make the money, to buy the things that we need, to be able to live for the weekend, so that we could go to work to make the money to buy the things, so that we could live for the weekend, so that we could go to work to buy the things, to make the money to buy the things, to live for the weekend, wash, rinse, repeat, maybe get a long weekend here and there, and the occasional vacation that was longer than a couple of days. Consumers, consuming all the resources. We produced next to nothing. And as I realized, because I've been in preparedness longer than I've been with my wife, okay? I've been into preparedness a long time. Whenever Katrina hit, sorry, it's early, I'm on my first cup of coffee. Since then, I've been into preparedness. Is that 2006? Yeah. But my version of preparedness early on was where a lot of people find themselves. Buy all the things, squirrel it away, save it for a rainy day, for when we need to take back the republic or whatever. This, by the way, is for the $5 and up patrons on Patreon for the next loot box giveaway. That's why that's up there. Not because I'm a rampant patriot. I'm a patriot, but that's another story for another time. I don't get a freedom boner every time I sit next to multicam is what I'm saying. But you do you, man, whatever you're into. Our home consumed resources. And I was a stockpiler of things. I bought stuff to solve my problems. I realized after a time that that was not good enough. You have to know how to use the stuff. Also, how much stuff do I need to buy? Well, that comes back to a game of numbers. Reality over feelings, right? What do I actually need to have? Start doing the math on that. Turns out it's a lot. It's a lot of calories. It's a lot of water. It's a lot of ammo. It's a lot. Okay. Well, how do we shift from consuming to producing? To my mind, feathers are flying. Feathers are flying. To my mind, that's where the homestead comes in. Now, we started homesteading on our suburban 1/3 of an acre lot in North Texas. We had 11 raised beds. We had meat rabbits before we started keeping Torah. And just so we're all on the same page, by grace, through faith, we are saved, lest any man should boast. Praise the Most High for Messiah, okay? I'm a whole Bible guy, not the front half of the Bible or the back half of the Bible. I'm a whole Bible guy, okay? I'm a believer in Christ, and I do what he did. But before we started keeping the whole Bible, we ate meat rabbits, and we had a lot of meat rabbits. They made a lot of babies. We got about 200 pounds of meat a year off of these rabbits. We had laying hens in our backyard. We had meat birds in our backyard. Made a little tiny 10-bird chicken tractor that we drug all around the drug around the backyard. Herb garden, pecan trees, berry bushes, fruit trees. And I make it sound like a Shangri-La, and it was not. It was messy and sometimes produced great and sometimes didn't, but it produced. It made food. And we cut our grocery bill from $300 every time we went to the grocery store to $180 every time we went to the grocery store, with a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears. About an hour every Saturday, this was before we were keeping the Sabbath, and a half an hour every other day of the week to water, weed, maintain on a suburban 1/3 of an acre in North Texas, with terrible soil. I had 10 cubic yards of compost in my backyard that we made. Also trucked in sheep manure and horse manure and dirt and sawdust and leaves and lawn clippings, everything I could get. And compost, man. It was great. It was great. And then I realized, yes, we're producing food here, which is awesome, but I can't protect this food from everybody else. Militant farmer concept. We're the only people producing food, and this 6-foot privacy fence that encircles our little 1/3 of an acre Shangri-La is not going to protect us from the hordes, the masses, the zombies. And so we spent 3 years praying for land, saving for land, and an opportunity presented itself. And we were able to partner with my wife's grandmother, of all people, who's awesome. Grandma lives right up the hill from us, and come onto this piece of land here. And now we're here, and we have a homestead. Well, what's a homestead? A homestead is not just a home that consumes things, but a homestead that produces things. And so I legitimately have 60-some chickens. I've got turkeys. I don't know how many turkeys I have. I think I have about half a dozen turkeys left, plus or minus a couple. I've got goats. I've got 20 sheep. No, 19 sheep in my front pasture right now. Our next lambing, we will drop between 10 and 20 lambs. Praise the Father. We have 1,500 foot plus another 1,000 square foot. So 2,500 square foot plus 1,500 is 4,000 square foot. Plus another 1,000 square foot is 5,000 square foot. Plus another 1,000 square foot is 6,000 square foot. We have about 8,000 square foot of garden separated out in different areas. And we have about a half an acre of row crops in. We have, our little community here, meaning like the adjacent properties that we live our lives intentionally with, have a lot of land for hay. We have a lot of land for firewood and for timber. We make eggs, we make meat, we make vegetables. We're getting better at making row crops. We're not great at it, but we're getting better at it. We will be making hay. We make firewood. This is all stuff that comes off the land. We make timber. We make lumber. I can see my timber framed gazebo from here. And so the homestead produces, and I would not say yet that it produces enough calories for everybody on it or adjacent to it yet, but it will. That is my goal. A big part of that is gardening and row crops. And see, that's the thing. Agriculture is a function of many different things. How much sun you get, how good your soil is, how much water you get, what temperature or climate zone that you're in, how many man hours you put into weeding and tending the garden, blights and pests, extreme weather, all these things factor into predicting yield. What I do is take what you think you're gonna get and half it. And then if you get that much, you had a good year. If you get more than that, you had a bumper crop. If you get what you actually thought you were gonna get, you've been blessed, legitimately blessed. So, in suburbia, we could not have had as much agriculture as we have here. I mean, I've got a fifth of an acre just in garden, and a half. I mean, I've got 6/10, 7/10 of an acre just in food, just in plants, trying to come up out of the ground and make food. To say nothing of the animals, right? And to say nothing of all the people around you that want to eat those things, because you're the only one that has those. So the homestead, the idea here, I'm bird walking and I apologize. The idea here is to be able to produce calories. And then the next iteration from there, which is where I think we're headed next, and then, I don't know, year, 3 years, 5 years, is a farm. What's the difference between a homestead and a farm? In my mind, now see, my mind and what we currently experience as mass-produced agriculture in the United States are two different things. In my mind, a farm is a place that produces more outputs than it can utilize. So it sells or trades the excess, which creates revenue. Revenue allows you to feed more people, take care of more people, purchase more equipment, maintain and improve the equipment and infrastructure that you have, take those vacations, so forth and so on. Farms generate more resources than can be consumed on said piece of land. Now, there's no free lunch. See, in modern agriculture, those resources have to come from somewhere else. Manure is trucked in, chemicals are trucked in, waste is trucked out, feed is trucked in. so forth and so on. There's a lot of hidden costs that are not seen in the modern agricultural approaches that we use to feed our nation and our world. There's the environmental impacts, and I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, I think y'all know that, but the environmental impacts of hell, just chicken houses and pig houses. It's disgusting. That's not what I'm talking about when I say farm. I'm talking about being able to utilize as many of your own outputs and create as many of your own inputs as possible and still having some left over. Compost, again, being another great example. Okay, so you put carbon in the chicken runs and the sheep runs and the goat runs, and then their manure lands in that, and over time it gets filled up with pee and poo. You stack it up, and then you let the the little tiny animals do what they do and turn it into dirt. The chickens scratch through it and they eat the little bugs and the worms and this and that, and they turn it and they turn it and they turn it and they incorporate it, and 6 months later what was manure laden straw is now black dirt. Cool. Well, we need that, and we use that around here, but we also have enough to give to other people that need it. Praise the Father. That's approaching a farm level. I mentioned our next lambing will have 10 to 20 lambs. I'm not keeping 10 to 20 lambs in addition to the 19 sheep that I have. That puts me at 29 to 39 sheep. I don't have an interest in having that many sheep. So we will give away or sell some of those sheep. Farm. We give away a lot of eggs right now because we get far more eggs than we can eat. Farm. Right now we make firewood for ourselves, but we have plenty, should we choose to make more of it, to sell, trade, or give away for others. Farm. And so it's being able to put the systems in place that get you from home to homestead. So you go from consumer to producer, and then continue to refine those systems so that you're not putting in more than you're getting out to jump from homestead to farm, so that you can continue to get greater and greater return on your investment into your own property, into your own systems, to produce more and more, so that you're producing more than you need. You want to be able to produce at least as much as you can for your own use, as much as you need for your own use, so that all your basic food requirements and needs are met. And then excess is good. Excess is buy, sell, trade. Excess is localized economy. Excess is goodwill in the community. Excess is being a loving neighbor. Excess, abundance is a good thing. And so I just wanted to shine some light on that and encourage you to, wherever you are, to take it to the next step. If you're stuck in consumerism, move to production. If you're just dabbling with production, get more serious about it. If you're getting good at production, go the next step into producing abundance, into producing excess. And I'm curious to know down below where you are and where you're headed. Hit me in the comments and let me know. I appreciate y'all. Shalom.